Okay, everyone. I think I'm happy because each group offered some idea, and two groups offered. It's a comparison: colonialism, Korea, colonized by Japan, things like that. But in fact, Ireland was colonized by UK, Britain. So it is. I think your understanding is correct. Right? And about this point, many critics said something. So I asked you to do some research, right? Critical essays about this point, and create one paragraph, including mine. Mine is a very thorough essay, but my essay does not consider the colonialism, or it's a comprehensive study. So, make a brief summary, 1 or 2 sentences, and then you can add the opinion by another critic you find. So you have to do some research, right? That's homework. And there was another homework, which is a summary of Yates's essay. Actually, the essay deals with the whole period, from the very beginning to the current period, and we are going to deal with the first part of the essay, section 1 and 2, right? Make a summary, right? And then probably next time I'm going to read the whole section, so that it could be recorded. Today is practice. It's being recorded, but I do not say anything, right? So this is just practice. So I'll give the handout here. This is my essay, and we're going to read it next time, right? Take 1. I think all of you understood Van Albright's essay correctly. Of course, there are 3 propositions, right? Everybody said that. And most of you talk about Venus 1, instead of H. Lawrence's point. Why? Lawrence's points are very clear, self-evident, right? So there's nothing to talk about it. Right? Also, about the Venus 1, what is it about? The poem is about what? Of course, it's a great thing. Right? What is it about? Have you seen a painting?
What?
Painting. Venus 1.
Oh, what is that about?
Is it big? Painting?
Yeah.
Lead a beautiful lady, and then swan, right? Swan is actually god, content in the poem swan. So it's what kind of painting is it? It is about the conception of Jesus Christ. Annunciation, have you seen it? Mary, Christ's mother, depicted, and there is a bird, right? Christ was born what? Rape, by rape? No, right? Not by, the conception was what? Not by contact, human contact, right? Human and God, contact one. Not actual contact, right? So the Annunciation, have you seen the painting or painting called Annunciation? the annunciation. No? Okay. Okay. Surf the internet and you will see the different types of painting annunciation. Bird, then the narrative, right? And Yeats thought that the new civilization will begin soon after in 2,000 years. Every 2,000 years, new civilization begins to move, right? Civilization begins to move. So this is we are at the moment of a new beginning. So it is about the annunciation. But it's very different, right? Usually in Christianity, the conceptual God was made what? By not actual context, physical context, but through. So, do you believe that humans can be conceived without being counted, without counted? Do you believe? Yes, it's possible. Follow, right? Right? Experimental. But Yeats thought that the new civilization will begin by this kind of event, right? Event. So, and he uses the Greek mythology, right? Lean and Swan. Very clever. Right? And I think book 2 talked about the form of poem, the process of poem. Very clever. Right? You don't have to talk about the whole thing. So you have to decide, oh, we're going to talk about a topic, or we're going to talk about a specific image, or stanza 1 or stanza 2, things like that. So when you do the group essay together, you have to decide, are we going to talk about the theme or the form of the poem or something else, the images or ideas? So group 4, did the essay, you submitted the essay for the last time. What did you talk about it in the essay?
Talk about how the God should think about his actions more, because his actions led to many problems later on in the future, with like a great war, many people dying. So we think like this should be a lesson that humanity should take to think upon our actions better.
Do you think it's a kind of lesson, moral lesson? You should think before act.
Yes.
Before you act, right?
Yes.
Really?
I mean, this is our initial thoughts, but I'm not exactly sure that is what the author was trying to convey, but this is just how we felt about it.
Yeah. Actually, many critics, particularly feminist critics, women critics, raised issues. This scene, this is the whole point, things like that. But of course, there is misunderstanding. People misunderstand this point as a indecent portraying of the conception of God, right? By the conception of woman. Right? But actually, this is the mythological story. Right? Story. Yeats uses a lot of mythology while he was doing poems and essays. And I think this is very beautiful. And it stands which stand up the destruction stand, right? The loss of fragility, right? Is overlap with the Trojan War destruction, right? Actual destruction, and then the acts the destruction of virginity. Two things over there, right? Very clever. What do you think? You like it? And in that stanza, in whitewash, what does it mean? In whitewash. Whitewash. Wash.
Whitewash?
Whitewash. Wash. Laid in whitewash. In the poem. Right?
Oh, whitewash.
Yeah. Maybe it means what? Passion. Or it means what? After the
swan's color.
what wash?
The feathers everywhere.
Oh yes, of course. Actually, the thing that is actually right. So it's kind of, the word is what? Abstract. Kind of abstract. You can guess a lot of things. You can think of many things in the phrase. So when you write a poem, use sometimes try to use abstract word, and the readers will interpret in many ways. And the words in it very beautiful and well constructed. Everything is considered. So there are different versions of this poem. When he had first composed this poem, it's kind of prosaic, but not well balanced, well constructed like this. Kind of cool, but still very beautiful. The idea, the images, the action, all of those things are there. But in terms of poem, the last one, this one is well-known urn, well-made urn, very beautiful. So if you read my essay, you feel that, oh, beautiful. The poem is beautiful also. The essay is very beautiful. Why? I researched thoroughly, and I'm impressed by wonderful essays, wonderful phrasing, and essays. So when I do an essay, I read everything about it. And then in an essay, I'd like to locate the best part in it. And I sometimes quote a lot of things, but when the original essay, the original paragraph is in poor English, I change them. I put them in my own word. And if the quotable paragraph is extremely beautiful, I quote the whole thing. I can quote the whole thing. So the final effect is what? If you read through the essay, you feel glad. You feel impact. You feel a lot of feeling. You get a strong feeling from reading. That's the secret. When you write an essay, try to do that. I did it many years ago, and so probably you can make a comment about my essay, and also try to find another essay which is very good to you, and combine it about this comment. Okay. Let me try to read the group essay. Group 1 says this. Leda is a poem about a Greek myth. The poem depicts, use the present tense. When you talk about action or the theme in the poem, use present tense, right? Okay, use present tense. The poem depicts the waiting scene in a good way. It is a beauty that comes from both aesthetic and prose language. The tragic beauty of the poem, Leda, makes readers fall into an irony. The fact that Leda could not stop her being raped should arouse readers or people in people angry or sad emotion. Moreover, that is not the only emotion it gives. Because one kidnaps her, people also can feel the case in a disorderly way. Like Japanese identifier, rule 3R, the runway code, rhetorical question that can devise form. Without the story about it, okay? Group 2. The first stanza is found to be powerful in its word choice, in the imagery of building for the poem and pointing into the drawing. It shows how the scene is seen in a graphic way, not only in the specific stanza, but in the whole product. There exists fertility in each of these words that seem to be appropriate for the theme of concept. Basically, the whole third stanza is the focus of the theme. This particular stanza is pointing out, emphasizing what is happening. The point is that from the first stanza, the third stanza could be said as a climax of the poem, and the fourth stanza ends the poem by finishing the scene with a rhetorical question, for emphasis. Okay? So, group 3. The poem leader use quotation marks. The title poem should be set up with quotation marks, right? Open quotation marks. Use double quotation marks, right? The poem leader describes the process of human destruction, both through war and civilization, through the image of witnessing the poem, beginning with the southern law, emphasize the aggressiveness of the expectedness of war, and after metaphorical description of leader's body, helplessly mastered by the full blood of the air. An image of total war is revealed to gratify many of the last stanza ends with a question asking whether the woman obtained knowledge before the different big routes. In conclusion, we believe that this poem is portraying the toxic colonization of imperial powers and the rhetorical question and implies the limited transfer of knowledge in order to exploit colonists. So, did you go in search the internet? No? Oh, good. Clever, good. Okay, group 4, they took the longest time, right? We feel Zeus was a more responsible power. We feel if Zeus was a more responsible power, he would have prevented many problems in the future by not breaking legal. We should take that as a lesson for humanity. That we should think before we act. Really? So you see a moral lesson in this, right? So it's quite exciting, right? The poem seems to be kind of difficult, but you have just begun practicing it. You can read it. You can enjoy doing it. So if you read it alone, it may be more difficult for you to understand it. Right? if you ask a question, one of your students will, oh, it may be your thinking. So, reading a poem in a book is quite an exciting experience. Okay, why don't we go to the part of the essay? You got the handout? Daniel Albright's essay. Introduction. This is one of the essay, and you can learn a lot if you read it slowly. The introduction. Okay, anyone who does not have the handout? If you read it at home. Okay. Introduction to. Okay.
I don't have one.
You read? Okay.
Yeah.
Tablet, you have? Okay.
I'm trying to. I wish I wasn't there.
Okay, introduction. This is a book with three large propositions. This is a very good beginning. When you started an essay, begin with a short sentence. Clearly, right? From the very beginning, if you have a very long sentence, it's very difficult to focus. First, the English modernist poets of the early 20th century strove to break down the wall of the separate text promise immensity, pre-verbal origin, and promise digestion in the mind of the reader. Second, that the methods of physics have to inspire poets to search for the elementary particles of which poems were constructed. We might call that. This is a new word created by Daniel Albright. Phonemes. Do you know the phonemes? Phonemes. Linguistics. Phonemes. Phonemes. These first two properties are closely related in that the search for the poeming entails research into the fundamental operations of the imagination. If poet is defined poetic atom, so he is using the scientific metaphor. If the poet is defining the poetic atom, it is useful to discover what a poem is before it is a poem. What a poem becomes after it is assimilated by its authors. The poem is not necessarily an element that exists only on the top page of the speech. Now let's think, or phoneme. It may exist before the poet vocalizes it. It may remain in the reader's mind after the poem's exact wording has been put out. My third large proposition is the most narrowly the modernists try to isolate the poem, the more elusive it became. Therefore, as a part of the model for analyzing the behavior of poem developed itself, contrary model developed Simon's Wade model. So Wade and the Wade model. If a poem is made, not the little bits of poems are arranged by the water, or beams, wave with wave, X-frames, it will behave quite differently, and the sequence will entail new, sometimes disturbing relation between the poet and the audience. This book does not concern itself with science, only with the appropriation of scientific metaphor for in a sense, every appropriation here has to be a misappropriation. This is very clever, right? In a poem, when you read a poem, misunderstanding, misreading is highly creative. Right? Great critics misread the poem on purpose. Right? On purpose, right? So, misappropriation, right? In a sense, every appropriation here has to be misappropriation. And the elementary poetic article is must be a fish. I doubt that there are valid quanta of poetry. The point is not a bundle of discrete expression units, but an function of language. Well, without language, poem cannot exist. Novel cannot exist. Exploring intensifications of semantic figures by means of color patterns with patterns of acoustic figures. Therefore, to search for irreducible poetic meaning of poetry, whether weight is bound to lead to exasperation. In fact, an actual scientist also found that in exasperating conditions when trying to explain the real world for the particle model or weight model is only nowadays not fruitful for absolutely bound counting between science and certain poets, especially Palm, Ezra Palm, he was very clever. Certain poets inspired genuinely function became but already act. As reported in physics, were the same thing, but I believe that the construction of poetic ultimates to the fact of the elements particles of physics is merely an exercise in metaphor. It's separate from it. So every application of science is one. This application. But the success of any of the work of art has never depended on practice and the artist theories about art. So, Daniel Albright wanted to talk about this. Theodore Adorno argued in the philosophy of morality of 1938 that Debussy and Stravinsky destroyed the music by acting on a pseudomorphism. Pseudomorphism, which means that is, by confusing the structural principles of music with the structural principles of visual arts. So, it's a wrong approach. Right? So, his music was good because his approach was wrong. No. That was extremely good. That's the Albright's conclusion, right? It is possible to agree with Adorno that Debussy and Trotsky had a poor theory of music, but I resist Adorno's claim that they therefore were poor music. This book will investigate the pseudomorphism of important theories, the remapping of the theory of poetry on models applied by physics. This current question requires, as will be shown, all sorts of distortions and contortions of the structures, all sorts of virtual volumes and most of the way of prevention. But they point to power from the belief that there exist basic units of political force comparable to total or electron or quantum, some spherical force. We will see in the course of this book that the pseudo-physics of modernist poetics display tremendous domestic energy. Quantum poetics is itself a great modest. In this introduction, I will recognize three things in general. The breakdown of the barrier between detached and solid, detached as a coordination with electrical particles, and detached as a modulation of wave. So he's going to talk about three propositions. Okay, some of that today. Okay, homework, right? Homework. Make a summary of the Yates' essay. That's the 22 parts. And also write an essay, very one paragraph short essay about William's one. After reading my essay and another essay by another critic, finally find another critic who wrote about this poem and compose a paragraph about the poem and add your opinion to it. Okay. Instead of he's a professor. He was a professor at Harvard, and he was a brilliant scholar. He began by studying mathematics in the undergraduate school, and then he changed his majors to English literature, and he got his PhD in 2 years, I think. MA and PhD programs in 2 years. At least you need at least 6 years to finish it at Yale. So he was a brilliant man, and after he got a job teaching at university, and he moved to another university, Rochester, University of Rochester, and he studied there. And this helped him change his course in his scholarship. And from that moment on, he taught music and literature and things like that. So, also, as I said, he authored almost 20 books in his life. He died at the age of 69. Usually, if you got half of those books in your whole life, we can consider you as a great scholar. Right? So, he was a brilliant man. This book, Quantum Poetics, Yeats, Pound, Eliot, and the Science of Modernism, this is the first book on literature and science. So I got the idea from this book, and we covered the first part, and today we are going to read the second part, Poetic Quanta. You got the handout, right? Page 7. The year 1900 was in some ways an unsatisfactory inauguration for the 20th century. Historians of the arts have usually preferred later dates, say 1910, the date of Frye's first post-impressionist exhibition, after which, according to Virginia Woolf, human character itself changed. Or earlier ones, say 1886, the last exhibition sponsored by the Impressionists, which introduced Seurat and Signac to the public for the beginning of the great modernist joke. Psychologists have only half-heartedly embraced 1900, the date printed on the first edition of Freud's The Interpretation of Dreams, which actually appeared in 1899. But physicists are often satisfied with 1900. For in December of the year, Max Planck read a paper postulating the existence of what he called the elementary quantum of action, a discrete unit of energy. Planck discovered that in order to explain the heat radiation from a body as the vibration of minute oscillators, perhaps atoms, he had to assume that energy was exchanged, not in continuous gradation, but stepwise in tiny chunks. In the very age that physical energy became quantized, political energy became quantized as well. It is true that rhetoricians had tried for many centuries to isolate and denominate various speech acts, including the elements of poems. And some years before 1900, School of Poets, the symbolists, had chosen one of these poem elements, flamboyantly promoted to a state of hyper-aesthetic authority, but it was not until the early years of the 20th century that poets started to become consciously engrossed in the nomenclature of elementary poetical particles.
Certainly there was a giddy manipulation, not only of isms, schools of poise, but of basic units to be studied in those schools. Many of the modernists like the scientific notion of minimum units, atom or quantum, and they were intrigued by the fact that modern physics was eagerly subdividing the atom into subatomic particles. Pound, for example, considered that physics and art alike had long been encumbered by crude elementary particles, too gross, too clumsy, too tiny, the atom, the greater, possibilities for finesse, surplus precision. Via Stravinsky and Antheil, we were brought to a closer conception time, to a faster beat, to a closer realization, or shall we say, decomposition of the music atom. The mind, even the musician's mind, is conditioned by contemporary things, our minimum, in a time when the old atom is bombarded by electricity, when chemical atoms and elements are more strictly considered, is no longer the minimum of the 16th century pre-chemists, Ezra Pound music. Pound was fascinated by the metrical exactitude of Stravinsky's system of notation. It seemed that Stravinsky, by manipulating smaller rhythms than previous composers, was capable of subtler, more rapid, more penetrating musical effects. In the earlier years, when the acceleration of 20th century science was in its first bloom, the modernists were excited by the futurist hope that art could assimilate scientific themes, that art and science could cooperate toward some complete elucidation of mankind. When Eliot decided in 1919 to explain the prehistory of the poem, in the poet's mind by the reaction of sulfur dioxide and oxygen in the presence of a platinum filament, he certainly has a profound affiliation between chemical and emphatic processes. Pound, 1916, wished for elegies written in research laboratories, not country churchyards. It is to be noted that one is not forbidden any element, any key, because it is geometrical rather than vegetable, or because it belongs to the realm of magnetic currents, or to the binding properties of steel girders, and to the flopping of glass, or the contours of the parochial churchyard. Pound considered this poetics full of such elementary particles as images, boxes, heartbeats of rhythm, and ideograms that could constitute experiments in certain for literary equivalent to the sharp gene or the atom. Have always held vortex, dominant cell in somatic development, convergence in atom structure, etc. If a few can agree, they can bust the smash. The smallest matter, the smallest determinant in the growth of an organism, must Pound held like a vortex, the tiny whirlwind capable of generating large shape. When the microscope is turned to its highest resolutions, it appears that cellular structure, molecular structure, artistic structure, all become congruent. Indeed, Pound devoted much of his career as a critic of the art to proving the following theorem. A key theorem of the modernist agenda, never to my knowledge, explicitly stated, perhaps because the vocabulary in which it could be readily formulated did not then exist. Poemim, rhythmim, pixel, spermatozoon, sub-electron. Physics, biology, literature, music, painting, each has its separate technique and separate purpose, but they radiate out of some common center. Some germs enjoy spatial extension, as picture statues, climbing vines. Other germs enjoy temporal extension, as poems or sonatas. After the germ unfurls itself into the world of space and time, it quickly loses its interchangeability with its congeners. This is why, according to the 1914 edition of Wyndham Lewis's impudent magazine, Blast, the vortex is the picture that means 100 poems, a music that means 100 pictures. But despite Pound's insistence on the separateness of the art, he discussed the origin of the work with a vocabulary that tended to break down aesthetic barriers. For example, by speaking of the image at the heart of the poem, the image that was a complex code in an instant of time, as if any component of discourse could resist the drawn-out quality of the discursive. The arts and the sciences all drew together as the analysts break them down into their smallest pieces at the hypothetical limits. At the very quick of epistemology, there is a convergence of speech, picture, song, interesting force. The term vortex was useful for this pan-aesthetic atom, the literary neutral, applicable on the broadest possible field, suggestive if no specific art form, only a focused dynamism. In the 1910s, poetry seemed to embrace science ardently. Then Einstein started to become widely known, carried all before him. Einstein the Great has visited England. Einstein has taken his place in the newspaper with the comet, the sunspot, the poisonous jellyfish, and octopus at Margate and other natural phenomena. Darwin is the representative of those years, the 18th century, 19th centuries, Newton of the 17th, and Einstein perhaps of ours. But the revolt against Einstein came quickly, and soon Einstein was to become one of the great villains of literary modernism. Why would a band of poets seemingly committed to the methods and revolutionary worldviews of modern physics turn against the great physicists of all? The answer, oddly enough, is that Einsteinian physics seemed to promote a literature that was rapidly becoming outmoded, all hazes and fogs. Einstein enjoyed playing the fiddle. Indeed, in Einstein on the Beach, Robert Wilson and Philip Glass put a varnish dressed in an Einstein wig on stage as the modern Nero, feeling while the world burns from the bombs that his physics made possible. And unknown to himself, Einstein also enjoyed a strange career, not as a musician but as a symbolist poet. Some of the modernists found Einstein disturbing because he seemed to unrealize the universe, perhaps because he was Jew. We were all very pleased with Mr. Einstein for knocking that eternal axis out of the universe. The universe isn't spinning well. It is a cloud of bees flying and veering around. Thank goodness for that, for we were getting drunk on the spinning wheel. Mr. Einstein, we are glad to say, has pulled out the very excellent pin, but the Jewish mind insidiously drives us to anarchical conclusions. T.H. Lawrence. Lawrence found the blooming, buzzing confusion of Einstein's universe preferable to the rigid clockwork cosmos of Newton. But when Lawrence came to write the credo of his religion, he denied Einstein as well as Newton. Lawrence's Jews superseded or subseded the electron. Far off at the cold space, at the quick of time, bids and goes still the great swan upon the waters of all endings, the swan within vast chaos, within the electron. Did you read Swan, the Swan? So you can understand it better, right? Because of the scientific metaphors, right? We've just read, right? Swan. The reference to Einsteinian physics were stronger in the first draft, called Religion, or of the sequence poems in which Swan is included. But now, only the electron behaves and misbehaves incomprehensibly, and forces tie themselves up into knots of atoms, then come untied. Nothing else but this. That everything ties itself up into complicated little knots that bars about and bump on one another and come, untied, and either release energy or swallow it up and make a considerable mess that isn't even worth the name of the universe anymore. For me, it's not good enough. I'm a religious soul, For me, at the moment, the father of all things swims in the vast dusk of all atoms, like a wild swan or a goose whose song goes through my bladder. Very beautiful. Right? Einstein seemed to advocate the vision of unsolid and unstable walls in which matter exists only in the form of contemporary clots of randomly circulating energies. What sort of literature would reflect such a physics, insofar as his reality seemed to be demoted to a dreamlike and evacuated condition? Einstein was a kind of symbolist. So far as his reality seemed to be a nervous spasm of ever-changing relativistic data, Einstein was a kind of impressionist or post-impressionist. Yeats and The Autumn of the Body, an essay, and Pound both held that the progress of the arts in modern age was a continual, insubstantializing, thinning out. You may argue that Wagner produced a sort of pea soup, and that Debussy distilled it into a heavy mist, which the post-Debussians have desiccated into a diaphanous dust. Einstein proffered a universe that really did seem to consist of diaphanous dust, a model exactly consonant with the artistic textures of advanced music or of Seurat, whose pointillist paintings the spectator can see as in a chart to test color blindness, shapes consisting of swarms of invisible molecules, almost a centimeter in diameter. But Einstein's seeming conformity with the cultivated vacuum of symbolism or divine languor of certain post-impressionists left him open to the modernist attacks against those artistic movements. Impressionism, according to Pound, was a passive kind of art, indeed corpse-like. William Lewis despised Impressionism even more vehemently, and some of Einstein's contemporaries used similar terms describing Einsteinian physics. Lays insists the fundamental law of Einstein's universe. Einsteinian space does not lie in flat sheets, neatly superimposed into great spatial cubes. Instead, it bulges, it stretches, sags, as if it could not support the weight of the stars stuck into it. Einsteinian time is equally slothful, sullen, growing slower and slower, and it gets faster and faster. The limp watches and dollies, the persistence of memory seem perfectly justified by the chronometry of the Lorentz transforms. In Time and Western Man, Lewis described, and to his credit strongly rejected, the notion promoted by Spengler and others with Jewish physicists, eliminated the necessity for force in description of the universe. Still, a sense of lethargy, looseness, passivity clings to the modernist description of Einstein's physics. Elsewhere in Time and Western Man, Lewis described Einstein as a psychologist, malgré lui, despite himself, malgré lui. Einstein's theory, though it set out to banish the mental factor altogether and to arrive at a purely physical truth, it nevertheless cannot prevent itself turning into a psychological or spiritual account of things like Bergson's. For the mind of Einstein, like that of Bergson or like that of Proust, is not a physical mind, as it could be called. It is psychologic, it is mental. Lewis's book is a great polemic against psychological model of reality, ill-informed, slushy, quizzy, requiring us to admire not the art of tangible and hard, but the art of mental diarrhea, such as novels of Proust and Joyce. Interesting, right? The art of mental diarrhea, right? Phrasing by the Albright, right? Einstein seemed to be a scientist who crumbled rock in his hand until nothing was left. Not an atom, not an electron, not even a hand to hold the remnants of the rock. And psychology rushed in to fill the void left by the general application of solid matter. Lewis was Einstein, as one of many myth-shapers of the present age. And Piranesi physics, who hid this Gothic subversiveness behind the mask of simplicity. Einstein has rather the affectation, if anything, of being quite prosaic, the simple physicist. Einstein more finicky, fastidious, and at the same time bizarre architect. Then Newton produced a simple, intricate, amorphous thing. Science and art evilly conspired, according to Lewis, to deny the objectivity, the there-ness of the world, to abstract the palpable reality into a state of sheer hallucination. So you are attracted to the essay, right? Actually, Albright is brilliant. His phrasing is very attractive, right? Science has to possess impersonal units of some sort. It consequently assembles the movement it is studying into events or serial groups, but always groups in aggregates. And also, as regards the nature it shows us, it arrives at a sort of shimmying, contourless, métis craft. Some groups are conspicuously slow in the movements. For instance, a mountain remains very much longer in the same place and of the same shape than does an ocean wave. So the mountain has a certain spurious status as an object, and is disliked by time science. Accordingly, natural science, by observing large immobile objects, knows that they are only humbugging in a sense. They are, in the degree, as liquid as the wave or as gaseous as a puff of smoke. That is what we meant by the cloud-capped towers of tempest. A reaction as well against common sense. It is still proper to note that the latter remark about the impermanence of what men regard as permanent is put into the mouth of the musician for operations involving disappearance or their métier. If Lewis was right, Einstein was nothing but a mere persuasive, high-falutin Houdini. It is all hocus pocus. His theory is in which time and space undo themselves, leave another whack behind. Einstein deeply offended that section of modernist movement that doted on solidity, aggressive edges, and Sachlichkeit. This is the background that led Pound to consign Einstein to the hell of slide throws, wobblers, thickness of line. I'll skip. Einstein got them him. Okay, I'll skip. Okay, the last paragraph on page 15. Before section 3. Actually, the second paragraph on page 15. Pound's idea that the sub-electronics of modern physics were Leibnizian in character is, however, misleading. Leibniz hated the concept of unspreadable unit of matter, such as the atom of Democritus and Newton. Indeed, the word atom is simply Greek for unspreadable. God cannot create natural atoms or invisible bodies. Atoms are the effects of the witness of our imagination, cited in Carré. Leibniz offered to the modernist something that modern physics could not, something far more useful to point, an elementary particle called the monad, that was as much subjective as objective, a minimum unit of thought and perception combined with the minimum unit of matter, a thinking atom, an atom with a point of view. The last physicist who thought of was ascribing something like intelligence to the atom was James Clerk Maxwell, but only as a conscious fiction. He imagined the demon separating warm molecules from cold ones to drive a heat engine, thereby deriving energy from nowhere and frustrating the second law of thermodynamics. Maxwell's demon turned out to be such an engaging creature that Thomas Pynchon brought him to life in chapter 4 of The Crying of Love 49. But for most physicists, protons, electrons, quarks have possessed little in the way of free will. Leibniz offered a cosmos in which intelligence inherent in the smallest, wildest particle, and dissociated cosmos in which thought and the object thought were, at the origin, one. I mentioned earlier the modernist equation in which the quanta of the arts and science turned out to be identical. Leibniz facilitated this idea long ago by demonstrating the following equation. The smallest bit of mentality equals the smallest bit of matter. Psyche, for the modernist, a poem is, in the bright world of intelligent object, the most intelligent possible object. And section 3 is the longest section, I think. I'm going to read it later on. These are you read the poems, right? So why don't you take one poem within the group, take one poem and discuss it and create an essay, group essay, 4 essays. While you are doing that, I'll go upstairs and make photocopies of a story by one of the stories. I think The Man Who Could Work Miracles by H.G. Wells. And we are going to read the essay and write a beautiful essay about it for Wednesday. Okay. It's how many pages? About 6 pages long, not very long. Okay, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, enjoy reading it tonight so that you can have some time composing your essay, right, about this story. Very attractive story, yeah. Read the whole thing and put down your impression, your idea about it.